In episode 82, Stuart recounts his tournament experience at the Riversdale Cup and also has a clubland story, whilst Blakey has just gotten back from Thailand, where the International Series Thailand was held at Black Mountain Golf Club. And so he goes into a few details of rules situations and pace of play. So listen into your favourite Rules of Golf podcast, the Golf Rules Questions podcast now.
Golf is a test of character before it is a test of skill. And playing by the rules of golf will definitely test your character.
Welcome everyone to episode 82 of the Golf Rules Questions podcast. I'm Blakey and alongside me is, of course, Stuart McPhee. Hello, Stuart.
Hello, Blakey, and welcome back home. I believe you only just arrived home this morning. My stalking app tells me, is that correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Another one of those ones where you suggest we do a podcast after I've just got off the plane and have no brain function and need a nap. Plus, I got myself into an exit row. Okay, that's all good. But I just could not get any sense of trying to sleep on this thing. My neck and my neck was like this, and my shoulders were like, my arm was up like that. And then one time I tried to get my knee up. And then, do you ever do the sleep? Because you're a plane traveller from way back. Have you ever done the just bend over into a staple position, and so your head's almost touching in your knee, and hope you sleep that way? Have you ever done that one?
Never, but I have done quite a few different body positions, but that's not one of them. I think the key for me when I did all that travel was just, you're never going to fall asleep if you're not relaxed. So to me, the important bit was just trying to relax as much as you could, regardless of what position. How many people sit there watching TV and fall asleep? And they're sitting upright and they fall asleep.
Yeah, I do that. But then that's sleep. After watching TV, that's like a nap. That's a 15-minute nap. And then I wake up and I'm still, because it's on the plane, you're dehydrated and groggy, and it's just horrible. Anyway, we didn't get into the GRQ podcast to talk about plane travel, but I'm lucky enough to be doing this tour job that I've been working towards for a long time. And as part of the tour job is you tour. And not around my own country at the moment, it's around the world. So I've just gotten back from the International Series Thailand 2023. Fantastic. Wade Ormsby won. We can talk about more of that later. But that was also our first playoff for the International Series. So it took, how many events did I do last year? I did 7. There was Indonesia Masters that I didn't do, so there was 8. We've done Oman, Doha, Qatar, and Thailand. So, and the Saudi didn't count as the International Series. That's just separate Saudi International. But that means we've done 11 International Series, and we finally got our first Australian winner, and we finally got our first playoff. They played off on the 18th hole, and it was interesting. It was a real match play type scenario. I said I was going to talk about it later, but I might as well talk about it now. Wade hit it in the bunker off the tee. The other guy hit it in perfect position. Wade lays up. The other guy, who was a local Thai boy, he had the crowd as well going for him. He hits it in the greenside bunker. Wade hits it to about 10 foot, and Jabrano hit it to about 9 foot or something. And Wade made the putt and won the playoff. So nice little pay packet. And as I read in an article, it's sort of a up yours to Ripper for not selecting him for the Live Golf team.
Can I just make a comment about having just done an event myself on the weekend, which we may get to, that also involved a playoff, 4-hole playoff as it turned out, was that you talked about both being on the green, one was X foot away and the other one was a bit closer. I had 1 or 2 situations on the weekend where you saw the players looking at each other, wondering if they could hole out or not. They may have had a tap in, but they've actually marked it thinking, maybe a bit of them thought it was match play and they couldn't play out a turn, because this tap in was literally just a finish off the hole, but they didn't. And you could see the discussion between them. And I was waiting to be called over to say, guys, forget match play. You're not playing match play. It's still a stroke play event. This is just, a continuation. You're playing stroke play. Order of play really doesn't matter. If you're able to tap it in, tap it in. Anyway.
If I ever got into that situation, I'd definitely be tapping it and try and put pressure on that other person.
Yeah, but you could see the hesitation. You could see the, because it's just one-on-one.
Yeah.
And automatically you think of match play.
Yeah, right.
You can see the hesitation to tap it in anyway.
Anyway, that is an interesting situation. Yeah, come back to that tournament that you refereed at in a second after we do the GRQOTW 81, which was, in which of the following is the player not required to drop their ball or another ball again? When the player drops a ball in the right way in the relief area such that it lands in the general area and then rolls. A, and comes to rest on a putting green when relief was properly taken under Rule 17.1 for a ball last crossing the edge of the red penalty area near the putting green. So they've dropped in the general area and it's rolled onto a putting green, but the putting green was still within the relief area.
Yep.
B, into and comes to rest in a portion of the relief area that is in a bunker. So they've dropped in the general area, but it's rolled into a bunker, but again, still within the relief area. C, to and comes to rest in a position where there is interference for the player's stance by the cart path from which the relief was initially taken under Rule 16.1b. So it was within that one club length, no nearer the hole, but it was close enough that they were still had their foot on the path for the shot that they took relief from in the first place. And D, when taking relief under Rule 16.3, embedded ball, the player's ball rolls into a position where their stance is on the location where the ball was embedded. What is the answer, Stuart, and why?
So the answer is D, but I'll just go through the why. So the first one is the penalty area one, where there are certain relief options. Typically, I don't know if there's always, typically penalty relief options where you can have more than one area of the course within that relief area. But where the ball first touches the ground, the ball needs to stay in that area of the course. So the first one, it landed in the general area, but actually rolled onto the green. So even though it was still within the relief area, you've got to drop it again because it's actually moved from the general area to the putting green. Same thing with the second one. It's dropped in the general area, rolled into the bunker. Still may well be within the relief area space, but it didn't stay in the general area. And the third one is interference. We haven't taken complete interference from the very situation that you were dropping for. So you need to go again. So it's a process of elimination for me for those.
And then D, obviously it doesn't matter about interference to stance from the pitch mark. So D is the answer. Very good. Now, question without notice. If the player has to drop it again, say in the instance of A, can they now drop it onto the putting green?
Yes.
Have they changed their relief area?
No, I think it's still the same relief area. So they're taking, I don't know the exact words, I think it was lateral relief, right, from a red penalty area. So we estimate the point where it last crossed. We have a 2 club length relief area. It just so happens to be 2 areas of the course within that relief area. You have dropped correctly, but you need to drop again. You've dropped correctly because the player dropped it from the height and it landed in the relief area. So you've dropped correctly, but it's then moved into another area of the course. Can you then drop on the green? Yes.
Have you...
If it's in the relief area, sorry.
Could you ever have 3 areas of the course in the relief area?
I've never seen anything that's written that you cannot. It just, I think, generally says if there's more than one area of the course within that relief area, it needs to come to rest in the area of the course where the ball first touches the ground after the drop.
Can you think of a situation where...
I'm just trying to physically think about the situation.
Can you have
Yes, I can.
Think of... Can you? Okay, what is it?
Yep. So we've seen pictures where you have a red line indicating the edge of the penalty area running right through a bunker. And so you get to where that red line leaves the bunker and then goes onto the grass. You would have a pretty small area there where you'd have general area, bunker, and penalty area.
But the penalty area, are you taking relief from the penalty area?
You could be taking an unplayable. Could be taking relief for anything.
Okay.
Let's say taking relief for an unplayable.
What about 4 parts of the course?
Oh, jeez. Do you have an answer for this? I'm just trying to. Oh, you do. Okay. I'm just trying to picture. Well, it's hard to put the teeing area and the putting green in the same sort of relief area. I'm sure you're asking the question, so I've got to go with a yes. I'm sure. I just can't picture it.
You're dropping from one penalty area, and within the relief area is the putting green, a bunker, another penalty area, and the general area.
There you go.
I just said it could happen. I didn't say I've seen it happen.
I'd love to see the photo of that.
I mean, that would be a strange looking green.
Yes.
But yeah, it could possibly happen. If you're taking it back to the last place, the previous place played, how many areas of the course can you drop within?
1. And that's going to be the exception to potentially taking penalty relief, where your relief area is confined to 1 area of the course.
Yeah.
Under 14.6.
Yeah. Sounds good. Now, you've got, do you want to tell us more about your tournament that you refereed at on the weekend?
I can. I'm sure yours is much more exciting, being in Thailand.
Yeah, well, that's why we leave it till last. Yeah.
I'm learning every time, every podcast, I'm learning something. I'll tell you the quick Clubland story. This is all old material. You've heard this before, but it happened again. Thursday or Friday, I was at a club, and a club you know well, and 2 guys come in. So, my ball was on the fairway near a bunker, fairway bunker. My mate hits his out from the rough, hits my ball at rest on the fairway, and my ball ends up in the bunker. Now, the ball that ends up in the bunker is the ball that was at rest. Right, and it's been moved by the ball that was hit from the rough. And he's come in and goes, what do I do? So he's in the pro shop. And of course, he's asking the pro shop staff, as club golfers do, because they're pretty good with the rules. Fortunately.
In their defense, they are the first person that you would talk to at the club about the rules. And so that really gets back to what we've said before. They should know the rules better than anyone.
Absolutely. I was wondering if you'd respond to what I just said. Anyway, so the person behind the counter knew that I was there and said, hang on, I'll get someone who may know a bit more than me. So I've come out.
Well, that's a smart decision, isn't it?
Agreed.
He made a smart decision to pass it on to someone who knows the rules.
I said, what did you do? And he said, I played the ball out of the bunker. I said, okay, did you see your ball get hit and move to the bunker? He said, yes. I said, well, you shouldn't have played it from the bunker. And I then said, did you think about playing 2 balls? So this is really what I'm trying to get at, and why, and I've said this to you over and over again, that I don't understand why Rule 20.1C3 is not used more at club level. They didn't know how to proceed. They've sort of tossed a coin, gone with the wrong option, and they could have just gone, look, play the one out of the bunker, put the ball back where it was, put another ball back where it was, nominate, play both, we'll sort it out later, and we could have sorted it out just like that. Just almost a community service message. There's that option, the provision in the rules. If you're unsure, the rules say, no problem, play 2 balls, we'll work it out later, there's no penalty, and we'll sort it out. Just another example of it. Happened within the last few days.
So you gave him your 2-shot penalty?
Well, we spoke about that as well, but my key message was if you're not sure, do both. And that was the message.
And you gave them the 2-shot penalty?
We spoke about that, yes.
And they signed for a score that included the 2-shot penalty?
I have a feeling it may have already been submitted electronically.
And so now that
I left that to the pro shop staff to sort out.
The score itself for a penalty like that can still be. Well, had they left the scoring area?
No, they're standing in the pro shop seeking guidance.
What's
But as
the
you know,
score?
using electronic form of scoring, you can be 1 metre off the 18th green and have lodged your scorecard. Submitted, sorry.
Is that what the committee procedures at Gardner's Run say?
Well, it's not at Gardner's Run. It's at another club you know better. But I'm just saying that's what happens now with the electronic form of scoring. Whereas
Well,
you'll have 4 people in a group, 2 have already submitted their scorecard electronically. The other 2 are still telling up the scores and disagreeing and going back, hole by hole to try to work it out. And it's not till 15 minutes later that I actually submit their scorecard once they put the clubs in the bag. The clubs back in the car.
this is a good
Come
point
back into lodgement,
because
submit it.
I don't think we had it sorted at Spring Valley. They'd submit it, then they'd come to the pro shop after they saw their leaderboard and said, "Oh yeah, no, it's wrong. I need to change it," and we'd change it. I wouldn't even give 2 thoughts about it. I just can't be bothered sorting it out when they only had 25 points.
Right.
So
If that had 45, you might have taken it differently, different approach.
Absolutely, but so I'm guilty of that. But it's we should actually have when is the score submitted? Where's the scoring area? I mean, I'm happy to make the whole course and clubhouse a scoring area.
Yeah.
So
the event I was at the weekend. Yeah, the event at the weekend, very, very clear in the terms and conditions, local rules, was it stipulated that when you have 2 feet outside the scoring area, you're done.
Yeah, I think that's what we have it on the Asian Tour, when both feet are outside the score recording area. And we have I think we actually have the flash zone inside the score recording area. So it sort of gives the scorer just a little bit more time, just in case, they're halfway through their interview. Oh, how was that 65? And then the score recorder goes, no, it was a 67. But at least they haven't left the scoring area and it still counts.
It's like playing chess. If you moved your queen, but you still get your hand on the piece.
Spot on.
It's like you got 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in, doing the splits. I'm not sure yet. Well, anyway, much more exciting over the weekend, a situation on the weekend. But sorry, go on.
I know someone else, or another tour. They actually changed it from both feet because one guy had both feet out, but he was still leaning in through the door. And then someone was like, "Oh, you didn't sign it." And they're like, "Oh, well, he's already got 2 feet out, but his body's not outside." So I think someone changed it to 2 feet and body and head.
95% of your body.
And 100% has to be going outside. There's another one too, that if you leave the scorecard on the table and then you say, "Oh, I just need to go and get a pencil," that's okay. And you walk outside the scoring area to get a pencil and come back. That's okay because you've clearly, that's even worse. But you've clearly said that you haven't left the scoring area. You just, you haven't submitted your card because you've gone to get something, and that's acceptable. Very good, Stuart. Nice. So that was a clubland one.
So the tournament one from the weekend, prestigious stroke play amateur event, the Riversdale Cup, which has quite a long history. You'd know Riversdale Golf Club reasonably well, wouldn't you? The course, you seem to know every other course, lay out pretty well.
Yes, I know. I think I've played pennant there once, maybe played one other time, walked around it for Riversdale Cup a few times. So, yeah, I know it pretty well.
So I was a walking referee for one of the last groups, and 13th hole, long par 5, but it's all downhill and it was downwind. A young guy hits the best drive he's hit all day, and he's actually trying to hit the green for 2. I actually stepped in and told him not to play because of the group in front were on the green and all those other factors I just mentioned. The other guys were just off the edge. Anyway, so he plays this second shot, smokes it, hits it clean as anything, but it just went left straight away. Didn't cut, didn't draw, just went left.
He pulled the shit out of it.
No, he didn't pull it though. He just went left straight away and
He was
headed
he
left.
was he was aiming left. Is that what you're saying?
I suspect he's absolutely hit it as well as he could have. It just went left as soon as it left the club face, and it went straight. We're all watching it. There's a few murmurs. There's quite a decent crowd, which was good. And we're all watching it, and a few people go, "Oh, I think it's in trouble," because in front of the green, is a strip of penalty area, which then moves out to the left-hand side to a significant area of water and penalty area. And as I'm walking over the crest, because we couldn't see where it had hit the ground, we couldn't see, it was all blind. As I'm walking down the left-hand side of the fairway, another player in this event says to me words to the effect of, "Now, if nobody saw that going to the hazard, then that ball is lost, right?" He says to me. I didn't realise until afterwards that the player who just hit and the person who just asked me that question are neck and neck. It's a 2-horse race for these two to win the event. This is not the main men's, this is an all abilities group. And I didn't realise when he said that to me, but he said, "Oh, look, if no one saw it going, it's lost, right?" And I said, "That's not quite right." I said, "We have a standard we use called known or virtually certain, and we don't have to be 100% sure, but we need to be really, it has to be very, very little doubt." He seemed not happy with that, but left me alone because I just kept walking, and he's then gone to play his shot onto the green. We're still both 100 metres short of the penalty area. Something I've learned from more experienced referees is now, because I'm allocated to this group, I actually started to ask people about what they saw. So there were 2 spotters there, with their fluoro clearly identifiable, and there were quite a few spectators. And I actually started to ask the question, who saw that? Where did it go? What was the line? And a few people go, "Yeah, it went left. See that person sitting down there? It went straight over their head." I was able to just gather this information to the point that when we got down there and seeing the terrain, and it was all very, very closely mown, rock hard ground, even if it had landed short of the penalty area, nothing was going to stop it. There were no bushes, no trees, just short grass, hard concrete ground all the way up to the red line. There was no doubt in the world where that ball was. However, there was 0.5% of doubt because nobody saw it go in, right? But of course, as I said, we have the standard. So I was more than happy. In fact, the player went to the other side of the penalty area to look just around the green, just in case it had carried there. That wasn't the line, but at least he had a bit of a look, and we looked for a little bit. Came back, I took him through his options. He dropped. I said, "That's in play." Walked around to the green to where this player who had just previously asked that question called me over to the green. I thought, okay, some relief procedure he needs. So I walked over, and he then actually started to become quite aggressive and said to me, "Hey, I just asked that referee in the group ahead, and he agreed that if nobody saw it go into the hazard, then it's a lost ball." So I then had to very calmly and as professionally as I could explain to him again that the standard we use is called knowledge or virtual certainty. We don't have to be 100% certain. We just have to have very, very little doubt of where that ball is. He wasn't happy with that. He mentioned the referee again. You could just tell he wasn't happy. He was raising his voice, very aggressive. And I actually used the words, "I'm very comfortable with that decision I just made about giving him relief from that penalty area." And I was, and I still am. And at the end, I think not deliberately to shut him up, but it ended up shutting. I actually said to him, "You tell me where else that ball could be." And I think that's a standard we can use, right? If there are bushes, if there's somewhere that ball can be, then we're not at 99%. We can very easily drop below 95%. Then we have an issue, right? But when I said to him, "You tell me where else that ball could be," he didn't say anything. So I think that was probably enough to convince him that we probably made the right call, even if he's not happy with it. Unfortunately for him, the guy who dropped the 3 played on for 4, then made a really long putt to actually par the hole, which no doubt incensed the other player even more. I then had to talk him through a relief procedure from a sprinkler head right next to the green. It was buried, below the surface of the ground in a sprinkler head. That took minutes because we had to do the drop, place 14.2E. So it took minutes to find. Here I am this close to him, having just had quite an awkward conversation with him and him being very aggressive. And here I am having to remain pretty calm and talking through, finding that nearest spot where it actually would come to rest, because he would have placed it down 20 times and it kept just rolling away. So that was a bit awkward as well. But another player, the third player in the group, down the 16th, he called me over, says, "I think he's going to have a go at you again." He's still not happy about it. And I've since found out that he's lodged a formal complaint about that ruling. But having said that, he was the marker for that player and signed the scorecard at the end of the round. So there you go. There's that story.
You've now lost your job.
Oh, they told you. Yeah, I wasn't going to broadcast that on the podcast, but
I mean, the ball could have easily hit the hard concrete and bounced 150 metres onto the 15th tee. Anyone could see that could have happened.
Hard concrete?
Yeah.
Or the hard ground?
The hard ground. You said it was hard ground, as hard as concrete.
Yeah, it was pretty hard ground, but the water's a pretty big area too.
Yeah, it's bounced 150 metres onto the next tee. That was a joke for everyone.
I mean, I reckon it's flown him. He hit it that well. Oh.
Yeah, that was a joke.
I reckon probably flew in. He hit it that well.
Anyway, yeah, no, it sounds. I know that area well. I've seen it happen too. It just races down there. Even if it hits the fairway, it can race down there into the, in early March conditions. It's quite hard and fast.
I mean, the course was immaculate. The fairways were unbelievable, like you're walking on really nice carpet. But off, yeah, it was pretty firm ground, and that particular area was pretty rock hard. But, I think we need to talk. In the rules, we have this standard, and it's not known or certain. It's pretty certain, it's virtually certain. And we do have that room to have that tiniest bit of doubt. And sure enough, we did have the tiniest bit of doubt, but it wasn't enough.
So one thing that I heard you say is there were 2 spotters there. Does this go back to our case of spotters can't spot?
Maybe. I mean, they were the first 2 people I asked. I mean, I had a walking scorer with him. I asked him. He's a member. He's been there 50 plus years. He said, yeah, that's probably pretty wet, before he even crested and had a look at the area. He knew straight away where it had gone. I then went straight to the spotters, who were clearly identifiable with their fluorescent tops. Did you see where it went? He said, oh, we didn't see it land, but it was definitely on that line over that guy's head, which of course was straight into the water. So whilst I didn't see where it entered the penalty area, everybody, and I would have spoken to more than 10 people without exaggeration, individual conversations, because I really wanted to be sure. But I mean, I was sure enough. But because I just wanted someone to go, yeah, no, I definitely saw it, and it definitely went in the water, because that would have made me feel just that a little bit better. Sorry.
The spotters weren't even down at the area.
No, they were at the top of the hill.
Well, how good
this other guy was.
How good was that? How useful are they?
Well, penalty area is probably only 100 metres away from them. They just weren't down there at that low point at the penalty area. They were at the high spot.
Spotters,
And it was an interesting, probably the second most aggressive a player has ever been to me. And I think what's important for referees is clearly we need to be comfortable with the facts and the rules and our decision, but it's also just remaining pretty calm. Players can be under enormous stress, and certainly more than us, and they can be struggling, as he was. He had an overnight lead of about 5 strokes and then had gone to nothing. So he's under that pressure and stress. And there was an incident on the 10th hole where I actually had to give the other player, not the person who got upset with me with the ruling, but the person who took the drop, who hit the ball into the penalty area. I had to give him 1 penalty stroke for lifting his ball just off the green on the 10th hole, because it wasn't on the green. And the other guy who was upset on the 13th hole actually called me over to the 10th green. Goes, oh, I don't think he's on the green. And I said, no, you're not on the green. You need to add 1 penalty stroke to your score because you've lifted your ball when you weren't permitted to do so. Anyway, so I think that maybe just proves, I certainly wasn't biased to any player because I'd given him a penalty stroke on the 10th hole.
No, that's not what I've been hearing. So I had a pretty good week in Thailand. We got finished. This is what I'm there for the most part. It's just pace of play. We got finished on the Thursday, Friday. Just on the Thursday, it was like literally just. It was 10 minutes past sunset. Our policy allows the player to stop if they wish after sunset, but thankfully they didn't. They decided to play the last hole, which was the par 5 18th. In the second last group, one of the players in the second last group actually was the leader of the day, shot 8 under, and was leading the tournament. and he shot 6 under the next day and was leading the tournament by 2 shots. Funnily enough, he bombed out on Saturday. But he was only behind by 3 shots. So he's still in it, still in with a chance. But then he just couldn't recoup and didn't finish too highly on the Sunday. But he is our first official EST award winner. So we have this thing on our pace of play policy called the EST, an excessive stroke time. If you take more than 90 seconds to play a shot, you are given an EST, which is like a bad time and goes against your record. And then you also, if your group is out of position, they need to start getting timed from that. It was on the 17th hole or the 71st hole of the tournament, but it was more than justified. So I said 90 seconds is the limit. And that's a long time because
it's a long time.
First to play is 50, second to play is 40. If you're taking 90, you've taken almost double. You have taken more than double second to play. Guess how long this bloke took to hit a 40-metre pitch shot on the 17th hole?
My guess is 2 minutes, but I'm going to think it's going to be more than that. 2 minutes is a long time.
4 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
And so I think that he's lucky. I think that he is very lucky that he got an EST and not an undue delay, an unreasonable delay under 5.6. I mean, an unreasonable delay under 5.6, that's where you're just mucking around, pissing around, doing nothing, is a 2-shot penalty.
That's incredible. I don't have the words for 4 minutes.
I mean, that's 2 ESTs plus. It's almost 3 ESTs.
Mm.
And he was in disbelief and appealed it. You've got 30 minutes within finishing a round to appeal. He appealed it, saying that it was a really tough shot. Wow. I mean, that, you know, we've got a product and it doesn't include players taking 4 minutes to hit a shot. You know, where's the entertainment factor in a 4-minute one shot for 4 minutes?
So what group was he in?
On the Saturday, he would have been in group.
Well, when did the 4 minutes happen?
I can remember it too.
The 4 minutes was on the second last hole, right? The 71st hole?
He was in group 18.
I'm assuming there weren't too many other groups on the course when he was playing his 17th hole.
He was group 18 and our last group was group 26. So there was still another 9 groups.
Okay. I'm thinking broadcast-wise, you could have been showing a lot of other shots while waiting for this guy.
8 groups. Yes.
But do you think he's just about to hit, so you stay with him, and he doesn't?
Yeah, and also, you know, then he holds up the group behind.
Of course.
The group holds up the group behind them, the group behind them, the group behind them, and then it all just ends up being us missing TV time, which is...
I mean, I think even at club level, 1 minute feels like a long time.
Yeah. I mean, we give these guys 4 hours 30 for a 3-ball, and that should be the maximum time they take. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the way. It seems to be that they're happy to be out there for 5.5 hours. Then they complain to us, oh, why did we take 5.5 hours? Well, that's because you and your group take 1:20 every shot. So, anyway, the eventual winner, Wade Ormsby, he's not slow, he's not super quick, but he's just quicker than medium pace.
Now, you'd love to know that we're speaking about pace of play, that you were named on the broadcast.
Oh, well, no. Maybe, hopefully they got my name wrong. Called me something else. Daniel Black. Daniel Black just telling a group to hurry up there.
It was referee Daniel Black. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So I didn't have another one, but it was interesting because I had this situation last year in a similar spot to one of the referees who had it. But then the one that I really saw and was on the broadcast that you saw was a player's ball was right beside a tree root. So much so that they couldn't play towards the green, but they could easily chip out to the next hole. They wouldn't have been able to chip out to their own hole too easily unless they played left-handed, but they easily able to chip out to the adjacent hole and then flick a wedge back over. They asked for a ruling, and the referee comes in, what would you like? I want free relief from the dangerous animal condition. Now, a dangerous animal condition, we've spoken about this many times on this podcast. I mean, when you only have 24 or 25 rules, you're going to recover or cover over rules and situations many, many times. But dangerous animal situation, you have to be feared for your life? No, just in this thought process that you are going to be harmed physically by an animal. Now, red ants or fire ants can harm you physically. They bite you, they sting, they cause swelling, pain, whatever. Now, I have given a ruling and given a player relief for this situation before, and technically you could say it was right, but I don't. Now that I look back at it and the way the referee did it on the weekend, I was more happy with how they did it than the way that I did it. And I'll tell you the reason. I've come up with the shoe test, right? So I went back there into that same area. It had, the same amount of red ants were there, and I took my shoe off. This was after play. No one was watching. Took my shoe. I actually should have videoed it, but I didn't. Took my shoe off and I placed it right in that spot where the ball was. And no red ants, there might have been about 15, no red ants climbed onto my shoe. Now, I went to another area of the course. It was up hole 2, just short of the green. There's a tree. And amongst these tree roots, I'm not going to say a nest, but there might have been a party going on between these red ants. And if you put your hand down, you would almost certainly cover this, like the red ants would cover your hand, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to say there was 100 to 200 ants. I took my shoe off and I put my shoe down. And within seconds, those red ants had covered my shoe. So obviously I've pissed them off by putting my shoe down. Whereas in the other case, it was more, we'll just go about our business. We're just on a conga line through to, coming from our day job back to the nest or whatever. Whereas this one, they were a few hundred really drunk Australian guys, and they were aggressive. You know what I'm saying? And so they saw this threat of the shoe and immediately swarmed it and decided that they were going to do something about it. Now, I had to get my shoe out. I saved my shoe, luckily. There was no joy in that foot. Saved my shoe, luckily, got the ants off, and went on my merry with my business. And now I'm telling this story on this podcast. But that is the shoe test, and I would say that situation where they swarmed the shoe, that was dangerous, and I would have given relief. The other situation where the relief was denied, totally agree with it. There was a couple of fire ants, maybe 15. It wasn't dangerous. They weren't worried about being slightly disturbed, and so there was no dangerous animal condition. So come up with a shoe test, and I'm going to stick by that now. Now,
Do you know there's no clarification for 16.2? I think there should be.
yeah, the shoe test. Now, the referee told the player that they were loose impediments. So they could have brushed them away. They could have grabbed their towel and carefully not to brush away the sand that was around there, but they could have brushed away the player didn't do it. The player didn't do anything. They took the referee's decision and said okay and chipped out sideways. So they knew. Like, they were just hoping to get an unsuspecting referee to just give them a free drop away from this tree root that had clearly stopped them from playing a shot towards the green. I was hanging around because I saw it firsthand. I was hanging around waiting to be the second opinion. If the player wasn't happy with the first decision, and so I saw it, but no, I could easily see that the player was accepting of the decision, and they were literally just trying to get away with one.
And did end up making 4. Did chip out to the other fairway, put their wedge from about 80 to within 6-7 feet, and made the putt.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I was watching it live. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I think I wasn't involved with that one, but I saw it firsthand. There wasn't too many, because I sort of do more roving and more, or not hole roving. I'm not stationed on a hole as much anymore. I'd sort of look after a 9 and look after the roving of the pace of play. I don't actually involve myself in too many rulings anymore. But I did have a couple. They weren't super exciting. One, I could hear the squishiness in the ground on this par 4, number 5, and it was on a bit of a hill. And I said, yeah, I can hear that there's water there. I can't see it, so I can't give you relief if I can't see the water. And he said, yeah, and then he put his foot near the ball. And even though I couldn't see water, so it didn't matter, we could hear it. I said, yeah, but you can't press your foot near the ball to show water. It has to be seen before or after you take your stance for the shot. Now, you're not taking your stance near the ball, are you? I didn't say that. It was, you just have to take your stance. And I said, no, I can hear it, but I can't see it. Sorry, relief denied. He wasn't happy about that. And he said, why hasn't this area been marked as GUR? And I think, well, it's just slightly off the fairway, so it's in the rough, so that's why it hasn't been marked. But then I saw him hit the shot and he knifed it, obviously thinking that he didn't want to fat it or whatever. But yeah, I thought he knifed it onto the green, so it shouldn't have been too bad. Anyway, the next day, lo and behold, a different player hits it in the same spot, and I couldn't believe it. I saw water. When he took a stance, I saw water, and I was like, and I gave him relief. I didn't want to because it wasn't much, but it was still enough to be water.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know what he did with his either, but hopefully he got golf karma and he hit it in the bunker or something. But I think that was about it. There's a lot of water there. The scoring was -20. Wade Ormsby, the Australian, won on -20. Last year was -26. This year we kept the tees back a little bit longer. Didn't put them up on as many up on the weekend, and the greens are slightly quicker. The fairways were quite wet in the morning, so we actually gave preferred lies for Thursday, Friday. And then, of course, one player in this third group out marked their ball, picked it up. Their caddy goes, "What are you doing?" He puts it back, straight back down, same spot, comes up to me on the next hole. I picked my ball up. I'm racking my brain trying to work out what he's talking about. And I said, preferred lies. He goes, yeah, but they're not on today. Why are they not on? The committee decided not to have them on the weekend. Oh, that's rubbish. It's still really wet out here. Anyway, what's the ruling? And I just stuck my hand up. It was like you're out.
Yeah.
1 shot penalty, as long as you played from the same spot. It's funny, all the players, and I have no issue with it, I'm not going to tell them otherwise, all the players mark their ball. They all mark their ball, pick it up.
Before they live for preferred lies, right?
And this is what does slow them down as well. They love to get the ball in their hand. They love to have it as clean as possible. Oh, I don't want a mud ball. Oh. Anyway, they love to clean it. They love to put it down in the perfect spot and pick their tee up.
Is that one of our myths, that you have to mark your ball before you lift it for taking relief?
Yeah, well, you used to. Now they've changed it. So it's only been changed for 4 years.
Okay.
So that slows them down. If you play preferred lies, it always slows a pro down. But the reason that they put the tee down, it's actually a good idea.
That's good practice, yeah.
The reason being is that the pro could be with the ball in their hand or their pocket for 90 seconds. They won't put it down until it's their turn to play. They're so weird. And that's why it slows them down. Then they'll put their ball down. After everyone's played, they put their ball down, then they put their glove on and get their club. It's like, what are you doing? You're slowing this whole game down.
That wouldn't fly at club level, would it?
No, absolutely not. So, I think I didn't have too many rulings, so I might just have to call this the Golf Pace of Play podcast from now on.
Well, if you're going to do more roving, yeah, we'll have to be that.
I do like doing the roving, even though the players hate me even more, because all I do is come and say to them, hey, you're out of position. Hey, you're out of position. Hey, guys, want to close the gap. Hey, you've just lost a bit of time from the group in front.
Right.
Hey, come on, guys, you need to hurry up. It's always slow here. I was like, yeah, well, it will be if you're out of position. Anyway, I like it when there's a fast guy. We haven't got many of them on the tour, but when there's a fast guy that plays with a slow guy, the fast guy will make the slow guy play within the time allowed. I mean, 4 hours 30 for a 3-ball is so much time. It's like so much.
Especially when they're not having 85, 90 strokes.
Exactly, and yet they still take longer than 4 hours 30. It's beyond a joke. Anyway, we're going to try and do something about it. I saw the PGA Tour. They came out with something the other day, a statement about how the fact that that's 5 tournaments in a row where they've finished the second round on Saturday. So, they've got an issue with pace of play. Their sort of thought process is, well, it's our members. We'll let them do what they want. They have their own TV channel, so they can be on TV as long as they want. Whereas we've only got 4 hours of coverage. We want to try and get the leaders playing from about hole 3, finishing on the 18th green.
With a bit of wrap-up time at the end.
Exactly, with a 5-minute wrap-up time on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a 15-minute wrap-up time on Sunday. If we don't make that TV time, then Stuart McPhee, looking at home, sees him tee off on 18, and then coverage goes to the news. Oh, what happened to the golf?
Yeah.
Oh, is that going to happen every week? I'm going to stop watching this. That was boring. Don't even get to see who won. I mean, a playoff's different, but you still want to try and get the playoff within the time. I tell you what, we've only had one playoff, as I said. Now that we've opened the floodgates, we'll probably have our next 3 tournaments. Will probably be 3 playoffs. We'll wait and see. At least we've got Vietnam and England has been released. I know a little bit of the schedule for the end of the year, but I'm not going to say it because it could change easily. But at least we'll have a lot more time, daylight. Like Doha, we only had 11 hours for 132 players. Thailand, we had 12 hours for 156 players. I mean, when we go to England, it'll be up near Newcastle. We'll probably have 16 hours for 156 players. So or probably even more. It's
Luxury.
Probably 4 a.m. till 10 a.m. It's probably 18 hours, 17, 18 hours. Anyway, have you got any other stories, Stuart?
No, I think that's it. Clubland stories keep coming in.
Yeah, we'll do the myths next week. We'll also get a wrap up from you because you're heading off to Rich River tomorrow.
Correct. Yes, for the New South Wales Open this week, which I'm very much looking forward to.
So we'll do myths and wrap up from the New South Wales Open. Say hello to Robbo for me, and you
Will do.
You have a GRQOTW 82.
I do. GRQOTW for 82. Marcela plays her second shot on the par 5 second hole at Wombat Hills, and the ball heads way right towards a boundary fence and appears to land in thick grass. As Marcela is not sure if she will find the ball or even if it'll be in bounds, she correctly announces and drops a provisional ball in the fairway. But before playing it, a homeowner on the other side of the fence relays to some spotters that the original ball has come to rest on the course and is in the thick, tall grass. Not wanting to search for her ball in the long grass, Marcela chooses to complete the hole with the dropped ball. After holing out, Marcela asks a referee on the next tee about her previous hole. Are there any penalty strokes? And what should that referee tell her?
That's an interesting one. Oh, well, we shall find out the answer next week on episode 83. And for all of those of you watching, don't worry, Stuart does not have a condition. He's just out in the sun recording this podcast. So Stuart, aka Casper the Friendly Ghost, is not actually that white in real life.
No, just go to the previous podcast. You'll see my normal skin colour, I think.
Enjoy Rich River. And we'll speak to you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Blakey.
Thank you, everyone, for listening in.